We don't have a great deal of detail, such as when these tariffs will kick into gear. We also don't know the degree to which any exemptions are possible. As you just alluded to, Donald Trump made it clear it would apply to all countries. We're talking here about a 25% tariff on steel and aluminium. Now, in Australia's case, we ship roughly 600 million of steel into the United States and about 400 million, those are rounded numbers, of aluminium, so about $1 billion a year. It's a significant sum. It would be a big hit to the earnings on those shipments. Now, last time round, this is with the Donald Trump administration 2.0. There's always an example from the previous version. In 2018, the same tariffs were imposed in Australia after a pretty frantic lobbying effort by Malcolm Turnbull and our ambassador in DC at the time, Joe Hockey, managed to get exemptions. Now, there was tension later in the term when Rio Tinto was essentially accused of sidestepping those tariffs by bringing aluminium from Canada into the United States. That row too was avoided, but the tension was there, and in the Trump administration there are long memories, and so it looks like this is a blanket ban. It remains to be seen whether that is in fact how it lands and whether the Australian government in its current colour and complexion can overturn that. So, as it's looking like, this does affect Australia. It most definitely does affect Australia, both directly, as it seems prima facie from what the President has said a short time ago on Air Force One, but also indirectly. The biggest target of these tariffs, and he's also talked about reciprocal tariffs, so any tariff that a country currently imposes on the United States would be reciprocated by the United States. China is the big target here, but also other major manufacturing nations, South Korea, Japan, and the Europeans, frankly. And so what we're talking about here is a very dramatic escalation in global trade tensions. There are barriers being put up. There will be side effects, which is what a lot of people are worried about. The chief one being, of course, you could end up with, for instance, cheap steel or aluminium being dumped onto the global market, coming into Australia, undermining Australian producers as well. So there are all sorts of side effects, and the political ramifications of this are already kicking off here in Australia. David Littleproud, the Nationals leader, was quick to point out the challenges for the Albanese government.
Well, it's going to hurt the Australian economy. We're an exporting nation, and this is a test for Anthony Albanese and Kevin Rudd to see and to make sure that we get a carve-out. We got a carve-out in 2018, and it's now a test of the relationship and his ability to deal with President Trump. We have a very compelling story. We just signed a cheque for over $500 million for AUKUS. We're actually coming forward with the goods for the United States in terms of that AUKUS agreement. We're paying our own way, but this is a test. This is a test to see whether Anthony Albanese's previous remarks and Kevin Rudd's previous remarks about President Trump has done this nation harm.
So, Jacob, as you said, more detail to come. This is an announcement of an announcement to come. Is this a Trump tactic?
It's very much the Trump playbook. You build up the tension, you get the hairs running in all sorts of directions, you get a lot of speculation whipped up about who's affected and how bad the impact will be. You're already seeing that in financial markets. The Australian dollar is down, as is the share market. That all adds to the tension. Donald Trump is a deal maker. Deal makers will tell you that tension is how you get deals. Now, how far down the list we are remains to be seen. There will be other nations and other allies who will very much be putting their case as well. As David Littleproud alluded to, we have a much deeper relationship with the United States on things like the AUKUS submarine program. The Albanese government and our ambassador in Washington will be flat out making that argument, not only on the national security front, but also because we have a trade surplus with the United States.